Welcome in, everybody, to the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and we are presented and brought to you by the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Here's the nice Bitcoin orange version. Get yourself a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off. We are live at the Vegas Bitcoin Meetup. And for those that are here, I just mentioned I use a promo code. You get 5% off. But I was supposed to have swag and some product to push here, but UPS brought it late and they lost it. So everyone here, if you want to get some discounts, I can get you even better than 5% off. Just hit me up. We'll talk about it afterwards. We can get you Bitboxes for a good deal, and I'll pass this around. But yeah, so we're just here. This is the Bitcoin Meetup World Tour starting in Las Vegas, and I've got Emery to my left. If you're watching on the video, I got Stacy catty corner to me, and I got Steve to my right here. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast.
So hold up. You just said this is the first one?
This is the first of the world tour. Well, countrywide tour so far.
So you're just at home doing this most of the time? And
yeah,
the
usually
first on the road?
Yeah. It was a Zoom, or like if I went to the conferences, I would interview people and do some there at the conferences. But this is the first time. I mean, really, it was me. I wanted to go on a tour, and then the Bitbox company was like, we need a better US presence. So they're like, we'll pay for you to fly around and go meet with people. I have like a survey and stuff I'll send everybody. They want to know how much you guys know about them. Have you heard of them before? Everything like that. And they also want you guys to check out. So this is I will just plug it now. The video up there, but here. So it's this nice little touch screen. It's like a USB stick. It's just so simple. You put it in. It comes with an adapter if you have like an old USB thing. And it's touch screen, and you just manage it on there. So if you want to look at it, it's pretty simple. And I always joke and say, I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. And if I can use it, then anyone else can use it.
Well, hold up now. I'm looking at this. If I were to plug this into my cell phone, it still works?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Don't need a laptop to be able to do this.
No, you don't need a laptop. You can just plug it in and use the mobile app. Yeah, do you guys use, just before we get into other stuff, do you guys use hardware wallets? Do you guys self-custody that way?
Yep.
What are you most familiar with?
50%.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta have. Yeah, sometimes you have to have some liquid.
Yeah, I got. I'm working the cold card queue.
Cold card
myself.
Okay. What about you?
I got a cold card, yeah.
Okay.
I sell my Bitcoin on a Trezor.
A Trezor? Okay. Trezor's not. I mean, they're all good companies. That's the funny thing. Like, I talked with the sponsor. I'm like, they're not. They don't have anything bad to say about any other ones, other than ones that get hacked. The nice thing about this one, it's open source. So they, and usually they're black, but this is a orange prototype that they're sending out. It's just, I like it because it's easy. Some of the other ones, I get a little intimidated. Like, there's nothing quite as scary as that moment whenever you send Bitcoin over to a hardware wallet and you have that like 10-minute period where you're like hair raising moment, like, is it going to show up? Like,
So my question, just based on that product, as I'm looking at what I do, does that work with Sparrow?
Sparrow, is that
The desktop.
The desktop.
Yeah.
Does it connect to that? Because there are some wallets that don't, right?
You should be able to send it to the Bitbox wallet, because there'll be a desktop app for Bitbox that you can connect to. So you should be able to send it from one to the other.
I mean, Sparrow will just identify the device when you put it in. And if it can't identify it, it'll pull it up.
That I don't know, and I should probably know that answer.
Yeah, not a plug for the Sparrow wallet, but that wallet is. All right, can we swear on this at all?
Yeah, you can say whatever.
All right, that wallet's badass, right?
Yeah.
Like, that thing does some stuff. Learning how to manage UTXOs, it does an awesome job of allowing you to select the ones you want to choose.
Yeah.
Where some of the other wallets I've looked at, you don't know the UTXO set you're even sending until after you're almost through to the actual confirmation where you're actually going to broadcast over the network. And then you're like, oh, well, now there's this other button advanced where you can choose the UTXO set. If you haven't used the Sparrow wallet, I get no money from them. The ability to go in there and just choose your UTXOs and say, these are the ones I want to send, then manage those and allow for, just grouping those UTXOs into one is awesome.
I'll
It
have
helps you
to.
get organized.
Yeah.
Like it really helps you get organized.
Well, and people need to do that. Like people are really low on the education of UTXOs. I don't know if you guys have noticed
Well,
that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
We were.
You-
like,
you
we
were
were.
guilty.
I have no idea what you guys are talking
and
about.
honestly,
So
you don't
Emery,
even
go ahead and
understand Bitcoin. You're not a full Bitcoiner until you understand the UTXO set and you've managed one.
Bro, there are a lot of things you don't understand.
There's a lot of stuff, but I'll tell you this: once you
That
understand the
I'm
UTXO,
an expert on.
okay, buddy.
No, so here, basically, with the UTXOs, like, Swan, for example, was like so big on pushing everyone to do the dollar cost averaging and pushing money. But every little like transaction, if you were buying $5 a day, it was creating a new UTXO.
Yeah.
And then that would clump then like a bunch of transactions together. So in the future, if you didn't consolidate your UTXO, so say you did that for 365 days, you have 365 UTXOs, right?
That's a disservice to the customer, knowing that they're doing that. They shouldn't even be allowed.
So a lot of people started when the fees were getting real high, they were consolidating UTXOs, sending all that money to one address, so that it's one new UTXO. Because like if you're going to try and send a $5 fee or $5 transaction with fees were getting outrageous at one point. I was calling it, we have the Bitcoin halving. I was calling it the Bitcoin doubling. Because like my home miner, whenever everybody's complaining about Bitcoin fees, I was like, I love it right now. Like, because the Bitcoin reward for like a month, this was pre-halving, it was like 6.25 Bitcoin, but the transaction fees were sometimes the equal to the block reward. So I was like, I'm doubling my Bitcoin just because of transaction. So I'm not complaining, but I understand why it's a problem.
I mean, it's been nice if they're back down to like 7-8 VByte.
Yeah.
To where you're not spending a ton of money to consolidate those UTXOs, but it was pretty crazy there for a while.
Yeah, it was getting a little out of control. So outside of the technical stuff, so Steve, you're one of the people that kind of heads this up. And did you start this?
Right.
Vegas Bitcoin?
It's a pretty good story. I was planning on running for the United States House of Representatives here in Nevada, District 3. And I thought a good way and my platform was all about Bitcoin. I thought a good way to meet people and network would be to set up a Bitcoin meetup group, put on a meetup. And so I did up in a section of town known as Summerlin. We're in Henderson right now. But I set up the Summerlin group. It was a weekly meetup. And then I learned of a meeting here in Henderson. And so we've since joined groups together. And I'll let Stacy talk a little bit about how the Henderson and Emery talk a little bit about how the Henderson group was formed. And now, so it's the first, second, third Thursday of the month in Summerlin, SG Bar 215 in Flamingo. And then the fourth, or the last, did I say Sunday? I meant Thursday of the month. Is here in Henderson at Sierra Gold. So
Yeah, I moved here in 22 and was looking from Chicago, and I was looking for a meetup, and I couldn't find one, like even on the meetup website, and I wasn't sure what to do. So right at the same time, Orange Collab came out. So I just started messaging everybody within a certain distance of my new house. And I started saying, hey, is there a meetup? Everybody's like, no, no, no. So I said, let's start one. And I actually connected with Emery's brother first. And he's like, let's do it. So I started this one in Henderson here. And we started coming here. And then Emery and Shane, his brother, kind of the first came. And then we've been going.
It's been over about a year now.
Yeah, it's been over a year now. And then we merged. And then we found out with the Summerlin ones, we kind of all merged. And now we're just all family.
That's what I was amazed whenever I was reaching out and talking to Jason first about coming out, is that you guys are as solid every week, like setting up this Bitcoin Meetup Tour.
Yeah.
Not everyone does every week. And I was like, really? Like, because I said, what Thursday do you guys meet? I'll come out in June. And he's like, pick one. Like, we'll be here any Thursday.
When you want.
And I was like, really? Like, but talk a little bit about the like meetup culture, because for those that don't know, my listeners know, but like you guys, I'm from Pittsburgh, and if you've ever seen the Rise and Rise of Bitcoin documentary, the main person it follows is he's from Pittsburgh, and like they had little Bitcoin meetups back then. There's one still, and I always talk to people about Bitcoin meetups, and I think that it's like such a crucial part of the success of Bitcoin, because it's Bitcoiners getting together to literally talk about Bitcoin.
I feel like you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
You're not just
Yeah.
some crazy guy in your basement typing away at a computer.
I got to say, it is refreshing to talk to people that understand what I'm saying, you know. But on the other hand, it would be great if we got more people in here who wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
You know. And what I find is when I tell people about it, I face the same challenges that everybody else does. You know, in terms of trying to explain Bitcoin, but even trying to talk to somebody into coming here, I feel like they think I'm trying to invite them to an Amway meeting or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, it'd be nice if some people, if we got people in who were here to learn about it, as opposed to people who already know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about the Bitcoin culture?
I think we'd have to focus more on education because right now we don't really have any novices come to any of the meetings, I don't think. And it would be hard, I think, if you're a novice to come in because we don't do any 101. We're talking about, finance, big Bitcoin, a little more in-depth Bitcoin content or concepts that people would really need to understand and have a background in. So I've been thinking a lot lately, like, do we need some more education events or a little education focus? Because I think people would be intimidated to come to a meetup.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, if you almost had how do you do that though? Like, if you make it once a month where you kind of present on a topic, maybe that's.
Well, CleanSpark is here, right? CleanSpark is their office is not too far from my house. So what I'd love to do is partner with CleanSpark because they've got facilities. We've been to their office downtown. And I'd love to partner with them and do some educational sessions to get some novices involved and like Bitcoin 101. Willing to come.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder because Bitcoiners, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I feel like there's the ones that evangelize, but in many ways turn a lot of people off.
No, 100%. You could overtalk Bitcoin and really sell people off of it, right? So even when I'm talking to, a lot of times it's people at my work. Right? I try to figure out what it is that they're concerned about and not tell them what Bitcoin is, but find out what they already know and try to debunk maybe one or two things that have been said and help them understand, look, what you were told, and really not what you're told. The headline you read that gave you the opinion you have is incorrect. I'm not going to force you into buying this, reading about it, learning about it, but at the minimum, you as a citizen of Earth, just owe it to yourself to read 5 pages of the Bitcoin white paper. And if you won't read that, I don't have any time for you.
And I wish if UPS had not lost the package, and I'll maybe just send stuff to Jason. They have Bitcoin white papers that I was going to give out, just full white papers.
I've got it on my phone. As soon as I talk to somebody, when I get done talking to them, look, you owe it to yourself. Read it. And when I'm done, I send them the Bitcoin white paper, and I tell them again, read it.
Yeah.
Don't be that person that 5-10 years from now says, you know what? Yeah, I wish I would have read those 5 pages of simple text that tell me what Bitcoin is and help me understand why it exists in the first place and how powerful it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all have that story. So I want to hear you guys' stories of when you wish you would have got into Bitcoin. It's like I was telling Jason on the ride over how I'm working the movie business. That's my background. And I was working on a movie that the director, he goes, I'm making this documentary. My brother's in this thing called Bitcoin. This is 2010. Ended up being the rise and rise of Bitcoin. He goes, and so I'm learning about it then. And I don't think I read the white paper, but I definitely read about Satoshi, probably read a little bit of the white paper, the people had posted somewhere. I wish I would in 2010 would have paid attention. And then the famous story that I tell on here all the time is that, and then in 2012, 13, I'm getting married, and I tell my wife, I'm like, Bitcoin hits $100, and I'm like, oh my god! I always thought once it got to $1, I remember saying, I was like, if it gets to $1, then, and this is how little I knew about Bitcoin, I said it should replace the US dollar if it gets to $1 a coin, and then it's getting to $100. It's going on its bull run. And we were booking our honeymoon, and we could have had an extra 3 days on our honeymoon for $1,000. And I'm sitting there telling my wife, I'm like, I want to buy 10 Bitcoin with that $1,000. And she's like, really? And I'm like, and I hemmed and hawed, and I'm like, whatever. Like, yeah, I don't want to lose money. So I would tell her all the time, those 3 days are priceless because right now they're worth like $610,000. That's I'll be living that for the rest of my life. But do you guys have that story of like when you heard about it and you look back on like, God damn it, I should have.
But the thing is, you can't look at that and say this is what I would have had, because what
I would have sold it for $2,000.
You would have sold it well before
I thought I was a genius.
Exactly. Just like anyone who's held, right? They say the best way to hold Bitcoin is to go to prison where you can't sell, so you come out of it, you still have it, right? No, every time I look at all the times I should have bought Bitcoin, I look at what I would have done. Bitcoin at $1 hit $2. Oh, look at this! I'm the smartest guy in the world. I doubled my money. I'm going to wait for it to drop back down to 80 cents or maybe go back down to 5 cents, right? And then it rips to 20,000. What do? I better get some before it goes too far. You buy it at that point, then it drops back down to 2,000. Like, well, this was a scam. I'm never touching this again. And then you never do.
Yep.
And that's what would have happened. So I look back at all the times I should have bought or was told about it. And I don't feel bad because I know I wouldn't have held. Not to say it's paper hands or anything, but hey, profits are profits. And when you're poor and don't have anything, a little bit of money goes a long way. So it wouldn't have taken much for me to sell that one.
Yeah. How about you guys? Do you have that feeling too?
Well, I feel like I learned about Bitcoin exactly at the moment I was meant to learn about Bitcoin.
I like your thinking.
Yeah, that was when I studied Bitcoin in the past, trying to understand what it was, and I was never able to grasp it until I heard about Michael Saylor and his purchase of Bitcoin with MicroStrategy's treasury funds.
Yeah.
And then I looked him up and I listened to what he had to say, and then I understood it instantly.
The Giga Chad.
Yeah, and so that's when I started buying Bitcoin.
And he has a great way of, I think, simplifying it. And his message is really consistent too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we've all listened to Michael Saylor, like every YouTube video you can find of him. And it's like part of the reason that, I mean, if he wanted to come on the podcast, sure, I'd interview him. But like, I'm like, what's he going to say that he's going to say the same thing? Like, and that's a good thing, like being consistent with your message, because he's right. And he explains it to people so simply.
Well, and he just goes into such depth in terms of economics and history, like he did that 12-part, I don't know how many parts, but it may have been 12-part series with Robert Breedlove.
Yeah.
Where he just talks about,
what is money
and the What Is Money show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he just weaves everything together and paints such a clear picture about how Bitcoin is just going to take everything by storm, right? And I believe it's going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And it could be literally overnight. So I believe we are about to experience a global economic collapse, and U.S. dollar will go to zero, and Bitcoin will be the global reserve currency and medium of exchange. And you see all the chaos that's going on today in the economic markets and in the world just in general, and everything is at a fever pitch, and something's going to give. And but I owe it all to Michael Saylor, really, because he gave me that level of understanding.
Yeah. And I see you have the charts up. I want to come back to that. But Stacy, I want to get your story of like, did you have that moment of what brought you to Bitcoin? When was the first time you heard it, and when did you actually get it?
The first time I heard about it was during Silk Road, right? It was all over the news, Silk Road and Bitcoin, and I just thought it was criminal. Like, shut up. I don't want to hear anything about that. It scared the hell out of me. I was never going to go on the dark web, anything like that. And I just didn't think about it. Then I started hearing in the back of my mind, I was like, what's this crypto stuff, right? I didn't know any difference. Like, what's this crypto stuff? And then I got into Bitcoin during COVID. So when COVID hit, I got onto that app called Clubhouse.
Yep.
And I got on Clubhouse where Neil Jacobs started the Bitcoin Cafe.
Yep.
Cafe Bitcoin. So that's when I started first listening, and I listened to Black Bitcoin Billionaires, and that's where I met my business partner, Justin Redrick, Bitcoin Vegan on Twitter.
Okay.
And I met Justin, and I actually quit the corporate world and we started a nonprofit. I moved from Chicago, so I was in Chicago, moved to Vegas, and all that. And so I went all in like 2021, pretty much. 2022, I moved here. Went all in, left the corporate world. We started our nonprofit called Bitcoin Transformation Community, and we go into prisons and we educate inmates and felons about Bitcoin. And we say we teach financial literacy through a Bitcoin lens, modern financial literacy.
You go through prisons.
I don't go into prisons. Justin goes into prisons.
Wow.
But that's our, and we've got a grant from Block. So we've got a grant. We're working on our second grant with them, which is going to be even bigger, I think. Like what they proposed for us to do is amazing. But yeah, so go to btctc.org, bitcointransformationcommunity.org, and you'll learn about what we do, our work. And Justin wrote the book called From Bars to Bitcoin. And I met Justin in Clubhouse, and then we decided, let's build a program. Because I got 25 years, I was a corporate executive in the learning and development space. So, and that's Emory's as well. And so we designed a curriculum and we go into the prisons. And I say we work at the intersection of Bitcoin and prison reform right now. And Block loves what we're doing. We've got funded by Block. We're working on getting some other grants, but we're really moving the needle and making a difference. We've done it for a year now, gone to these prisons, and it's freaking cool.
That is incredible. Yeah. You must know Lamar too, then.
Yeah, I know Lamar. Yeah,
Lamar's like been on the show probably 3 times or something like that. I love Lamar. That's incredible. So everybody, look that up. So Steve, I see you have some charts here. So you want to, and also, by the way, if you're not watching the video, he's got a BBB hat with the middle B being a Bitcoin logo. And I see some Better Business Bureau. So is that what you do for a living? You work for the Better Business Bureau?
I was the controller of the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York. I was there for about 6 years, and I left the Better Business Bureau in April. So it's been about 11 weeks now. But, I love the Better Business Bureau. This hat with the BBB stands for Better Bitcoin Bureau. And about a year and a half ago, I got the idea that I wanted to donate 1 Bitcoin to the Better Business Bureau, thinking that, the Better Business Bureau is a 100-year-old not-for-profit organization whose mission is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust. And so my idea was, if I can make a contribution to them in the form of Bitcoin, with the request that they hold it on their balance sheet as Bitcoin, that would be a signal to America that Bitcoin is not a scam.
That's a pretty good message.
Yeah. And so I made that offer. I just have the timeline here.
So you did make the offer to the Better Business Bureau?
Yes. In December of 2022, I offered a personal contribution to the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York. There are 93 different Better Business Bureau offices across the country. Mm-hmm. They're all independent of one another. And then there's a main office, the IABBB. But so I was working for the New York office, and I offered a contribution of 1 Bitcoin, and my offer was declined.
Declined.
My offer was declined. And at that time, that was December 2022, and it was worth about $17,000 per Bitcoin. So then I got the idea that I'm planning on running for Congress out here in Nevada. And, I have family out here. My parents have lived out here for the last 25 or 30 years, and, they love it. And whatever, I love it too. It's been very good to me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to offer the 1 Bitcoin to the BBB out here in Las Vegas, the BBB of Southern Nevada. And that was March 2023, and the Bitcoin was worth about $27,000 at that time, and they thought about it, and they declined my offer. So then in May of 2023, I decided to send a letter to all the CEOs of all 93 offices of the Better Business Bureau offering one Bitcoin to one office. And I said, the first 5 offices that get back to me by, I think it was July, I don't know the exact date, but it was some date in July, will be considered for this offer. 2 offices got back to me. None of them took the Bitcoin. Okay. And so then, but I'm still on a mission to get the Better Business Bureau to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So for a while there, I left the offer open with the Las Vegas office, knowing that I was running for Congress out here. Which, by the way, I did not win. I ran in the Republican primary. I finished 6th out of 7 with about 450 votes, and the winner got about 10,000 votes. That's neither here nor there. So I've since rescinded the offer to the Better Business Bureau out here in Las Vegas, and I really want the New York office to take the Bitcoin. So I'm on a mission to get the New York office of the Better Business Bureau to accept my offer of one Bitcoin.
Well, so the offer still stands then, and let's get the cyber hornets on that. Any Bitcoiner out there? Is there a place that they can ping the Better Business Bureau, or are they on Twitter or anything like that?
Well, they are on Twitter. Yeah, I can look up their Twitter account right now. That's probably the best place to.
Because we should flood them with requests to say like, "Hey, Better Business Bureau, what are you doing? You're getting a free Bitcoin." That's all you have to do is hold it, right?
Well, I can't. I'm not inside their heads. The CEO of the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York. Her name is Claire Rosenzweig. I reported directly to her when I was there. And I can only imagine that, look, the Better Business Bureau reports on scams. That's one of the things that they do. So they report on scams to the public. And lately, there have been a lot of cryptocurrency scams. Yep. And, they have a website where you can, search on scams, and you put Bitcoin and you get a lot of hits on there. Okay. So they report on scams. They think, there's a lot of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin related scams. They have this 100-year-old name that they're trying to protect. They don't really want to lend their name to Bitcoin and the other part of it is we know that 99.9% of the population just simply doesn't understand Bitcoin. And,
yep.
And so you put all that together and they said no. And that,
you understand where they're coming from.
I understand where they're coming from, right? But what they don't know is that they're entirely wrong about this, right? And so,
if the Better Business Bureau was to make a currency, it would be Bitcoin, like one that you can trust and verify.
Yes, their mission is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust, and Bitcoin is like the pinnacle of trust, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's more elements to the story as well, in the sense that Bank of New York Mellon is the oldest bank in America. It's like
founded in Pittsburgh,
238 years old or something like that, and they a little over a year ago announced their digital asset custody services, where they will custody Bitcoin for their institutional clients. Okay.
Yeah.
Bank of New York Mellon is a founding member of the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York. So my request was that the Bank of New York Mellon hold the Bitcoin, custody the Bitcoin for the Better Business Bureau. And not only that, the Bitcoin was meant to commemorate the 100th anniversary of that office. Remember, there are 93 offices. That one just celebrated its 100th year. So I wanted to commemorate the 100th year and to be in memory of my father, Seymour London, who retired from Bank of New York Mellon after 30 or 35 years. I haven't told the story in a while, but he retired from there. So it's like I grew up in a Bank of New York house, and in memory of Edward Wolf, who was the controller at the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York before me. He retired at the age of 78 after working there for 16 years. The Better Business Bureau is a great organization, and they perform an important role. And but they've survived 100 years. I want to see them survive the next 100 years. So that's the other part of it. I want to fortify the organization. So I want to alert America Bitcoin's not a scam, help the Better Business Bureau, and and just get Bitcoin is a national security issue. Okay. That's
Yeah.
why I was running for Congress, to spread this message, because nations that are early to Bitcoin are going to be the fortunate ones. Nations that are late are going to be the unfortunate ones. And same with people. People who are early are going to be the fortunate ones. America needs to be first. Okay. And the American citizenry needs to be first to Bitcoin. And so I have this lever, and so yeah, that's the mission I'm on.
That's that, and I like fight for that because I say Bitcoin, the founding fathers would be Bitcoiners. I always say my two things. I say Jesus would be a Bitcoiner, and the founding fathers would be a Bitcoiner.
The founding fathers
100%.
would embrace Bitcoin.
They
sure.
would, because people, when I say Jesus would be a Bitcoiner, people are like, what are you talking about? Why are you bringing religion into Bitcoin? I'm like, have you not read about when he flipped the tables in the temple because the money changers went there? I was like, he hated the money controllers. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. But the founding fathers, I think it's the spirit of Bitcoin is freedom. But I look back at, I mean, I think we're all in the position where we kind of understand that politics in general is just a scam. And you don't think that?
No, I think they're all upstanding, honest.
You think
Great Americans do want the best for themselves.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so I think that we have to stop looking through the lens of a politician solving the problem for us. And Steve, you running for office is an example of that. You're not relying on a politician anymore. Like, if you are a proud American, you need to be like, put your foot down and say enough with the tyranny, and we're taking our country back, because that's exactly what they did. And their whole consequences that they were facing way worse than our consequences of being pro Bitcoin. I mean, sure, people could cancel you for being pro Bitcoin, whatever, but back then they were facing death. Like, they were going, it was signed the Declaration of Independence, and oh, by the way, if this doesn't work out, we're gonna die. So I think that is important for Bitcoiners to get behind, because I know Trump, I mean, tonight is supposedly the debate, and funny enough, at a Bitcoin meetup, there's no one talking about the debate. Isn't that really something? I'm not surprised at all by that. But Trump says he's behind it. Okay, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, maybe he just wants the votes. I don't know. But it's not a politician. We don't rely on the politician. We rely on each other.
Yeah, what's great about it is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He can be behind it or not be behind it. Bitcoin doesn't change for him.
And Bitcoin doesn't care.
No.
Yeah, Bitcoin is going to keep TikTok next block. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to keep going. Go ahead. You got more.
Before we move on, I found the Twitter account for the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York. It's at New York BBB. That's New York all spelled out. The letters BBB.
All right. So at Cyber Hornets, get on that. If we can find a way, and I'll talk to Daniel Prince, who's a friend of the show. If you ever listen to the Once Bitten podcast, what's that?
My co-founder and I were interviewed by Daniel and his daughter.
Oh yeah, no, oh my God, Lauren, she's phenomenal. She's like my Bitcoin buddy. Like she has been on the show multiple times. I always tease Daniel and say that she's the founder. Like, you're the real host. Your dad just like happens to be here for afterwards. But she asks great questions. Yeah. She is really bright, and it's fun. I'm making a documentary called "Searching for Satoshi," and I interviewed her and her sister at the conference last year for it, just to get like the youngsters' perspective on like what do you think? Like, my kids are way too young to even like think about they've grown up their whole life in Bitcoin, so they don't know any different. But like, to hear, like, I don't know, they're both like teenagers or preteen or whatever, to get that perspective of like, what do you think of Bitcoin? But yeah, Daniel Prince, I forget why I brought him up, but yeah, he knows Michael Saylor. That's what I was going to bring up. So we'll get on him if we all ping him to say, dude, send this to Michael Saylor, because nobody rallies the Cyber Hornets like Michael Saylor. So if we get the Cyber Hornets on the BBB, I'm all in. I can't believe, and like I can't believe that this is the first I'm hearing about this. You know,
Well, it gets even better. So I started a Twitter account for this Better Bitcoin Bureau, and then I started tweeting and tagging the Better Business Bureau, and they sent me a cease and desist letter.
oh, wonderful.
They want me to stop using the Better Bitcoin Bureau because they say I'm infringing on their trademark.
Oh,
And
really?
so, I wrote them back.
Which, by the way,
letter.
Steve comes prepared. He's got all this stuff printed out. Are you an attorney on the side?
No, I'm a
So it's not like this is something new for you.
Yeah,
This is every time.
this is awesome.
So the point is, I wrote them this letter explaining that I refused to cease and desist. I sent that on February 5th, and I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard back from them. So, and so it just, this is a good opportunity for me to tell this story and wear this hat. And yeah, if we can get the cyber hornets and turn them on the Better Business Bureau to educate them and get them to come along, it will go a long way to educating America, because there are tens of millions of people who turn to the Better Business Bureau every year for information on businesses or help with other matters.
Yeah.
And so it will be a strong signal.
No, what's the chart you have there?
Okay.
So this is another thing that comes to every meetup?
New to me this week. I haven't seen this one.
In all fairness, I used to talk about this a lot when I was running for Congress and I was trying to stir up support. But like I said, I haven't told the story in a while. But I do keep this in my car, and I do walk around with this folio, and it's a perfect opportunity to talk about it. So I'm glad I did come prepared.
Yeah.
So I created this chart to just show, and if you go to my Twitter, which is at London, the number 4 Congress, I posted this chart there. It's a very simple chart that tells the whole story about why the global economy is going to collapse. It goes back 30 years. It compares the S&P 500, which is this blue line, to the national debt, which is this red line, and this green line is gross domestic product. Okay, this is the internet bubble of
2001.
This is the great financial crisis of 2008. Both of these times, the S&P 500 lost 50% of its value. Okay. Now, I know there are a lot of people walking around who weren't affected by that.
Yep.
And I wasn't really affected by it majorly either. It was early in my career. I didn't have a lot of money saved and whatnot, but I saw how it affected people who were affected by it. Okay, so you can see that each time the market gets frothy and it reverts back to the GDP.
To the mean, yeah.
Gets ahead of itself again, reverts back to GDP. And right here, all those 3 lines converge. Then we start spending after the great financial crisis with the bailout. And you can see the red line, it just never ends, right? It took on this new trajectory. Then with COVID, the line got even steeper, and now it's completely out of control. But it's completely out of whack when you compare it to GDP. But what has benefited? The stock market, right? So crash reverts to the green line. Crash reverts to the green line. This thing's going to revert to the green line. And when it does,
it's going to lose a massive amount of its value.
The stock market went from 1 on this chart, 1 to 10. The GDP has gone from 1 to 4. So that means it's going to fall from 10 to 4. That's a 60% drop in the market. But GDP is going to go back down to, let's say, 3, right?
Yeah.
So now you're talking about going from 10 to 3. That's a 70% drop in the S&P 500. And we know that the NASDAQ's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
I think the NASDAQ's going to lose 90% of its value. So that's what this chart is about. To me, these 3 simple lines tell the whole story.
Yeah. I would say so. And I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, have you seen that chart before? Or?
I would disagree. And the reason why is look at a chart of Argentina's stock market with the printing that they've done. All-time highs.
But eventually, I would think it's gonna like they might be at all-time highs now, but that crash is coming, and I think it's coming everywhere. That's the one thing. That's the.
I'm not saying the all-time highs are good.
No.
The way they're getting there is a terrible way of getting there with all the printing that they've done. It's just you didn't have any other asset to put your money into.
Yeah.
Until Bitcoin.
But yeah, I think my point, like what I wanted to say is that I think you're both right in the sense that like it's like the Argentina GDP, like compared to their inflation, everything. But that crash is coming globally. And I don't think any of us, in my opinion, and we don't know when it's going to be. It might be in 10 years. It could be tomorrow. I don't.
It's closer to tomorrow than 10 years.
And that's the alarm. That's the alarming thing to me, and that's why I tell people. I mean, I always advise people. If you're my listener, you know, do not buy Bitcoin with money that you need, like in the next 4 years. You know, don't go crazy. Don't hedge yourself. Don't get out over your skis. But I would not put your money in retirement. I would not put it in any other kind of savings. If you are stashing cash away, you should not keep it in the bank. You should put it into Bitcoin 100%. But we don't know when that day is going to come, and that's the scary thing. And I was telling Jason on the way over my moment of years ago getting out over my skis, where I was like putting debt into Bitcoin and everything like that, which I never recommend people do. Is I couldn't sleep at night because I was like, you don't know, like that moment could come. We all know as Bitcoiners, we could wake up. Literally, you could go to sleep for 8 hours, wake up, and the global reserve currency has become Bitcoin. Then it's gone up, or something else has happened that has made Bitcoin crash 30%.
Well, what's worse? If you look at this chart, right? The chart is just lines right now. But if this were to go down to here or up off this chart to nowhere, either way, it's terrible.
True. Yeah.
Both
scenarios
this
don't
is where
work out.
he and I disagree. I think what you could have is this just rip higher and called a melt up with the amount of money printing and different things that are going on.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But here's there's three things going on. There's Bitcoin, there's the stock market, and there's US dollars, right? So while the stock market may continue to gain with respect to US dollars, it will lose value versus Bitcoin. But it's
I hope so. That's why I have Bitcoin.
The stock market will crash in value 70%. That's what I'm calling for. 70% crash in the S&P 500.
So
in value.
In my opinion, the S&P 500 is going to go on a runaway. It's gonna basically it's tethered to the national debt, and those two I think the red and blue on this chart. If you don't know, it's the S&P 500 and the national debt. If one runs, the other one's gonna run, and
we know the debt's not going down.
No, they're certainly not going to spend less money. The debt is only
going to go up and up and up. It seems like asset prices should only go up and up and up. Doesn't mean it's value. Just mean it's price, right? Bitcoin is value. I own Bitcoin because I want to know that the money I earn today, or the energy and the time that I'm expending to earn something back in return, can't be reprinted or recreated.
Yeah.
So that's why I save in Bitcoin. Do I invest in the stock market? Yes. I don't care what those things do other than go up. I'm not holding on to those forever. I'm not worried that I'm going to get locked out of those accounts. Well, I'm not worried I'm going to get locked out of my Bitcoin accounts. I am worried that they could do something with your 401ks. I mean, wasn't it Hillary Clinton not 10 years ago saying that one of the things we could do is we could take the 401ks and nationalize them and put them into the Social Security system? I know I'm probably butchering how that came about, but that's one of the things that scared me into getting into gold. So I was a gold bug. Obama took over as president. Nothing against the guy. Don't care politics either way. But the things that were happening at the time were scaring me with the things I was hearing and how things were going. It's like, I want something I can have that can't be taken away from me. Unfortunately, I chose wrong. Like that.
You chose gold.
I chose gold. I chose gold.
Well,
pretty
you should
good.
have chosen the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet where you could not get that stolen from you on this nifty little device. Little plug. But yeah, no, yeah.
It was. I wanted something I could keep in a safe somewhere else where I knew the government couldn't take it from me, the banks couldn't lock me out of it. But the headlines on Bitcoin, didn't read any articles, only the headlines. Here's this Bitcoin, here's this new internet currency that's worth less than a penny. And all I could think is like, what kind of scam is this? And unfortunately, listening to the Motley Fool back then, all you hear about it was scam, 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 or they were doing whatever shit article they were doing. No reason to read about that. Hey, if Motley Fool tells me that this is a scam, I'm going to trust them at this point. Did no research, put no effort into it, and never put any time for it. So the amount of gold I have and have had would have had me holding quite a lot of Bitcoin over the years.
Yeah, the opportunity lost. I just don't. Gold to me is good if we don't have the internet. You know what I mean? Like my one friend who's a gold bug, and he craps on Bitcoin all the time. And I'm like, look, dude, the only way Bitcoin fails is if an EMP wipes out all electronics on the entire planet.
And I bet he's holding 1 ounce coins that he can't separate into anything to buy a loaf of bread. He's going to have to give a 1 ounce coin for a loaf of bread.
I tell him, I say, you know what's more valuable than your gold is my chickens that produce protein on a daily basis. I was like, because I can take those over to the guy that has, that has cattle and say, hey, what kind of exchange do we do here for these dozens of eggs that my chickens are shooting out every day? And that, but I told him, I'm like, dude, if the world loses, if there's an EMP that wipes out all electronics, we have much bigger problems than whether or not I chose Bitcoin as my store of value.
And one of the things that hit me, so as I was getting into Bitcoin, I can't say I was when I first got in, but I took a trip to Mexico. And one of the things they ask you when you're crossing the border is how much money you bring with you. And as I'm looking to try to find a second home in another country to just fulfill that experience, all I can think was,
in case.
well, not from so much for the in case, but just I want to live a certain life, right?
Yeah.
How are you taking, let's say, 10, 20 ounces of gold across the border?
Good
Do you
luck.
trust that somebody's not going to go, looks like you're doing something nefarious, we're going to take your gold from you? And when I was crossing the border, through the airport, through security, one of the things that dawned on me when they said that was, wait a second, nobody said anything about Bitcoin. I've actually brought all of my Bitcoin with me, and nobody knows it.
You can do it right here in your head.
And I was like, well, all right, I need more Bitcoin. This makes more sense now because I can see how going across the border, they scan you, see the gold, take your gold, and then you've lost everything. Where if I go across the border with, even if I have my hardware wallet, they don't have much, but if I don't take it with me, so many words later, boom, I've got all my value with me everywhere I go.
And the great Guy Swan once said, the beauty of the Bitbox is that this could fit in an orifice if need be.
I think that's a great way to get in trouble right there, buddy.
Yeah, that's what a guy, one time he said, he was like, the funny thing about the Bitbox is I think you could put that anywhere. But yeah, no, I love Dylan LeClaire, friend of the show. I don't know if you guys have seen him before talking about, the price and projections and where it goes. But I remember Elizabeth Warren came out and said something about taxing unrealized gains.
Yes.
And he said, he quoted it and said, good luck taxing the 24 words in my head. And I was like, boom,
That's only if he didn't buy those UTXOs on an exchange and send them somewhere, right? Where he has to then explain where they went.
Well, I call this the bug out plan. I'm like, you might have that situation if you're a Bitcoiner in the States or whatever country you're in, and you might be trapped that way to a degree. But if you have your bug out plan, you can at least take it with you and then exchange. But I know, have you guys ever seen on Twitter Hodl Magoo?
Who's that?
Hodl Magoo is so he's been on the show a couple times, and he's really funny. Like, he's just a shit talker. But he told this story on the show. He was a computer science major and found out in 2010 somebody solved the double spend problem, and so they were having their university computer system mine Bitcoin after 5 o'clock until 9 a.m. the next day. Every day they were having it switch over. And
What university was that?
he didn't say.
Okay.
He's a NIM that he sent me a picture one time because I said, he told me, he's like, dude, I can never come back to my homeland and it's fine. And because he was mining Bitcoin in 2010, he had Bitcoin mined on burnt CDs. That was like what he used as a wallet.
Wow.
And I said, man, I feel bad for you. And he sent me a picture with where he's somewhere on an island somewhere. And he said, don't worry, I'm fine. Like people can come visit me, but that.
I wonder if he's on Roatan. You and I are going to go skiing next week.
I wonder about that. Do you guys wonder about, I remember saying this to a couple Bitcoiners at the conference a couple years ago. I said, I think we all have that price where we disappear. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to, because in my opinion, I always tell people Bitcoin, if it's less than $10 million a coin in 2009 purchasing power, then it's on sale. So right now that would mean, I don't know what it would have to be, like a $25 million coin. So if it actually realizes its value, becomes the world reserve currency, the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast no longer exists. I am getting the lowest profile ever. I'm getting out of Dodge. So what, is there that number where oh my God, if Bitcoin hits 10 million, 5 million a coin, I really gotta maybe look at an island somewhere.
And it's not really the disappear, right? It's one of the things that's come up as OPSEC, your operational security. Wearing a Bitcoin shirt makes you a target. Having Bitcoin accepted here makes you a target, right? Especially if you're not that business trying to accept it. Walking around town with a Bitcoin shirt on, does that make you somebody that somebody wants to attack to try to do a $5 wrench attack against you? That's one of the things that I've probably done poorly over the years. I wear the Bitcoin hat, I wear the Bitcoin shirt, I talk about it while I go around. But there is going to be a point in time that comes around. It's like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want anybody knowing I own this. I don't want any chance that somebody's going to come to me and try to attack me and do something that they're trying to pull that from me. Because the only way to get that Bitcoin is I have to give it to you. And I can't imagine what they'd have to do where I'm like, all right, I've had enough. Here, you can have it, right?
Yeah. Do you guys have that scenario in your head? Because
I don't really think about, along these lines often, but what comes to mind to me is things are going to deteriorate, right? It will be worse than the Great Depression. Let's set that aside for a moment. Things are going to be bad, right? And I guess, so what's the fear? That somebody's going to know that you own Bitcoin and try to come and get it from you? I mean, there are wealthy people now, right? There are wealthy people, now they're not in hiding, right? And they flaunt the fact that they're wealthy. So I don't understand what the issue is.
My worry is they're wealthy off the old system, and the new system is something that there's no going back from. And also the government is not going to be a fan. That's my thing, is that if
the government's not going to have a choice. See?
They might not. And I do think if you're thinking along lines of game theory, they have to be thinking, I've got to adopt this coin because there's no way to survive if I don't. Right.
I'm not familiar with the term game theory, but there's going to come a point when nobody is going to want to hold the US dollar or any fiat currency for that matter. Everybody's going to want to hold. People will be panic buying Bitcoin, right? Even the people that I can't get, that think I'm completely crazy and think Bitcoin is a scam and I'm going to lose all my money. I can't even get these people to just open a Coinbase account. Just so you have it when the point comes that you decide you do want to buy the Bitcoin, you're not in line with all the other millions of people trying to open accounts, right?
Open Strike accounts.
So
what's that?
Open Strike instead of Coinbase. Just saying.
Okay.
Open a Strike account.
Yeah. Well, Coinbase. I mean, Brian Armstrong and his bulbous head. He's the biggest anti-Bitcoin person in the world. But I'm with you there. I actually, depending on where people are in their ability to adopt Bitcoin, I will actually recommend Coinbase because if you're, let's say for example, if you're like a farmer that has no tech savviness, whatever, and I'm talking to them about Bitcoin, and I do actually do that because I'm mining Bitcoin off of natural gas in Pennsylvania, which is on farms. So I'm talking to the farmers, and I did this recently. This is like sacrilegious as a Bitcoiner to recommend Coinbase, but I'm looking at this farmer and I'm thinking to myself, I think Coinbase is probably the place for you to go.
I think Coinbase is the best place to send them, right? Because it's the fucking casino. It's the shitcoin casino.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Send them the cash out. Like it's easy. They stay laser focused on Bitcoin. Cash out. So they probably already have cash out.
So if you're not in on, if you don't see all this other bullshit out there, we're like, wait a second, why do I own this Bitcoin when this Dookie coin's going up 10x this week, right? I want to buy that.
We live in
keeping them off
Vegas.
of that.
We know about the shitcoin casino. We know about slot machines and what it does to your brain. I send everybody to cash out. I mean, because I'm a Block fan, but they fund us. But I think cash out's easier because it keeps people laser focused.
Oh, so Block funds you guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Block,
that's awesome. I love Jack Dorsey.
yeah.
My mining partner Bob Burnett with Barefoot Mining.
I'm at Barefoot Mining too in Ocean.
Really?
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah. No,
My miners at Barefoot going to Ocean.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was going to actually be there at the event at the hydro plant in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I forget why I wasn't there, but anyways, yeah. No, Bob's a great friend. Like, I mean, I talk to Bob every day. And we're doing it's the first it's his first step into natural gas Bitcoin mining in Pennsylvania.
So one thing that's really cool that we're doing, we're working with so we work with several states, right? The prison, the correction facilities. The one that's really the coolest, honestly, right now for us is Colorado. We're actually working with one Colorado facility, and we're getting solar. So our partner's getting solar for them. I think for free. So they're going to get the solar for them. And Compass may donate the miner, and they are going to mine Bitcoin in the prison. And our goal is to have the inmates learn the skills to mine and repair the rigs in the Colorado prison. And then my whole vision for Colorado, these prisons, we're actually working with Oklahoma and Texas as well, is to become self-funding.
Yeah.
Right?
That
so
would
become
be
self-funding by mining Bitcoin. And so we've got this first one in Colorado that's our biggest.
But you're taking the off the taxpayer. You're taking the burden off the taxpayer.
That's right. I'm sorry.
You're stealing you're stealing taxpayer dollars. My hard-earned money is going to every year project you have. Is terrible.
No, but I like that because eventually it would, under that scenario, eventually the tax dollars would not work.
Oh, it wouldn't be terrible that anybody who comes out of prison actually has a skill when they return to society that they get used to earn money and provide for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, think about the solar is good to a degree, but like those solar farms that just cover like massive amounts of land are so depressing to me. But if you're teaching inmates solar repair, like that's a tech job, you're ready to go. Like if you know how to.
What we do is our goal is to get these people that are currently incarcerated or really close, like within 18 months of being released, or in transition sober living homes, and we get them to learn the skills of mining. Right, all this supposed to be a tech repair 1, tech repair 2, and then I forget what the highest level one is, because we've got a partner with LFG Mining, and Jose's really cool. He's got a semi truck, and he's got a trailer that's a like mining lab, and so whenever we have somebody released, he can drive the trailer. You need to go to Colorado now. We've got the people that right when they're released and they're in transition home, they can go into the semi-trailer and learn the mining skills they need to be a certified tech repair for LFG Mining, and then go get a job.
Light bulb, Pennsylvania. So my wife's cousin's husband is a correctional officer in state penitentiary near where some of the Bitcoin mines are setting up, but they own a bunch of land in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, where I live, is the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. And I'm thinking to myself, you set up a natural gas well on a penitentiary, outside of the limit,
yeah.
but then feed that gas in the generators. You could have them learning maintenance jobs. You could have them learning a bunch of different things. And then also that is producing, I mean, the natural gas mining is so foolproof. It's ridiculous how they could take so much funding away, like stop taking money from the government and just be self-sustaining. I'm gonna push that. Now we should talk after this to figure out how do we make
so
this
our
happen.
partner LFG Mining, they're in Texas mostly. They're from Illinois, but they're in Texas a lot now, and they're actually working on hydrogen. So they're focused right now on the hydrogen mining. So the generation from hydrogen. So because he says that's the most sustainable right now.
Yeah.
So
Well, the natural gas, it's like there's so much of it in Pennsylvania, and people are worried that it's going to. People are also worried that it's going to ruin the environment. I hate to break it to everybody. When a dinosaur farted, it let out more emissions than anything on the planet ever could. And they also had bigger plants. I don't know if you're aware of that, but their plants they had more lush forests because the carbon dioxide, which is what is required for greenhouse to create plants and photosynthesis, they had more of it. So I believe in protecting the environment, but I also think that something that comes out of the ground, it's all Mother Nature. It's all going to work.
Closer to the source.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And, the George Carlin quote I like. Have you ever heard it? When he was like, "I'm not worried about humans. I'm worried, or not worried about Mother Nature. Mother Nature will be fine. Humans are the ones that are going to have a problem."
Yeah.
So, Steve, what do you think about mining off of natural gas and just the resources we have?
Another area that I'm not really well versed on, mining. I'm more of a financial. I come at this from a financial aspect. Economic aspect. The technical stuff is not something I can really speak to.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take you guys' time up. I mean, if you want to keep going, you're more than welcome to. But I don't want to. If you want to sub out, you're more than welcome.
Vegas is a great place, right? And we've got great meetup groups. So if anybody's visiting Vegas, all of our events are in the Orange Pill app. So if you're visiting, you can come see us, come to any meetup every Thursday. Everybody's more than welcome. And we're also the place of the Unconfiscatable Conference. Behind my hat, my friend Tone Vase, Unconfiscatable.
Tone Vase, he's great. And I almost came to that maybe 2 years ago. So yeah, that's right. And when you said it, I was like, that's in September.
Yeah, so we have Tone has this conference September 16th and 19th this year, and tickets are on sale now on the website. So Vegas locals get a discount because we help Tone, execute.
Bob might have been at that. Was Bob?
Bob was last year.
Yeah.
We were at Top Opinions.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no. And Bob, I mean, Bob has been on the show like 4 times, and I call him my Bitcoin dad, because he's just like he's one of those people that like whenever he was on the podcast, we met on another podcast. We met on oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? But Bitcoin Meister, Adam Meister.
Mm-hmm.
We met on his podcast. We were both guests on it together. Common interest, and then we met at a conference. It was one of the like. Do you ever meet somebody and you like hugged each other like? And you're like, did we just become like family? You know what I mean?
I know you. I feel you.
Yeah, yeah. And so like, Bob, I mean, he's like the type of person, like even I'll say like my mother-in-law passed away in April, and like we knew for a while that she was gonna be gone, but like in September of last year it was real bad news. And like Bob's the type of person, and Bitcoiners in general, I feel are this way. Like Bob talked to me for like 45 minutes about like the spiritual aspect and like losing, a parent and all that kind of stuff. And like, and that's what I love about Bitcoiners. That's why, like my movie industry background is probably at this point becoming less and less. And I released an episode recently where I said my future is in Bitcoin, like that Bitcoin is my future. And my wife has said it, like, I'm much happier. I'm a happier person whenever I'm dealing in Bitcoin. I love Bitcoiners, and essentially when the Bitbox was, they were like, "Hey, do you want to actually do that tour that you've been talking about?" And I said, "You telling me go around the country and hang out with other Bitcoiners? Like
that's
sign
cool.
me up. Like, yeah. I'll do that all day." Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's an honor to be the first one.
Well, like you guys are the most dedicated ones. It's really hard. Like I said at the beginning, it's really hard to find uh one. Like I couldn't believe it whenever Jason said he's like, yeah, we meet every week. I'm like, really every week? Like it's not one like every other, because like on those meetups, like sometimes people set it up and it just shows recurring, and you're like, does anyone actually show up to that? Like the Buffalo meetup, does anyone show up to it anymore?
Right. There's some of us that show up all the time, and then, and then of course there's a bull run, and a lot more people come out of the woodwork. I mean, this room was filmed one day, and I was like, what the hell?
Obviously,
Yeah.
all-time highs bring out everything.
How many people were here whenever you were at 73K?
I think it was about 20.
Yeah, because we had that table, we had this one. Yeah.
It was a full room.
Yeah.
We'd never seen that many people, but obviously we're not at that price anymore, so not everybody's coming.
Yeah, they're gone.
Well, it's interesting too with the price going down.
It's not down.
It's
It's just sideways.
Yeah.
It's
Still sideways.
I mean, like seriously, we just had the halving. We're at 61K.
Yeah, if you're not happy with $60,000 Bitcoin right now, there's something wrong with you as a human.
And like for perspective, the last halving in 2020, the price was at like 8,000, which was 50% of the previous all-time high.
Hey, that's when I was supposed to get into Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to wait till 63 to get
Oh
in.
no, Shay would call me on a daily basis, like, dude, get into a Bitcoin. Like, nah, it's a scam, bro. And I got some like, a couple days later, like, what's going on? It's like, just stacking sats, buying Bitcoin. And I remember looking, it's 8,000. I'm walking through the grocery store, thinking like, what a dumbass. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Hey, I've had other people try to orange pill me well before he did. And I shit on them just way more. But this is my brother, so why would I trust him? Because he's a moron, right?
Yeah. Everybody's brother's a moron.
Yeah, but he was unwavered. They believed in it a lot. And it wasn't until one of my buddies called me, and I think Elon Musk was going into some Michael Saylor conference or something. He says, dude, I'm getting into Bitcoin. You're the only other person I know that would probably understand this enough that I would say this to. I'm tired of seeing Bitcoin run and not being a part of this. So I'm buying. I don't care what the price is. I'm going to continue buying. So I'm like, you know what? My brother's telling me about this. This is a trusted buddy of mine was telling me about it. Maybe I need to look into this. And it didn't take much reading. Like when you actually read a little bit about it and you stop reading the headlines, it doesn't take much to say, why not?
Yeah.
Why am I not in this? This makes a lot of sense at this point. And then that's why I try to tell people, like, buy a little bit. Like I'll send somebody $5 of Bitcoin on Cash App. Because at that point it's like, okay, well now it's something they have. And they have to think, well, what is this? They're not going to sell it right away because I sent it to them. But they're probably going to start researching and see more like, okay, well, this makes more sense. And then something else will make more sense. And something will just trigger at some point in time in their head. And the idea there, hopefully, is I have other Bitcoiners around me that are friends of mine that can go on this journey at some point in time where I'm not the only person who's got the ability to live the life I want to live. Yeah, and I can take some people with me.
Yeah. I love that Cash App idea. I would always, and I'm bad at this. I should get back to my orange pilling, like more evangelical days. But I used to always carry a balance on exchanges. But I'm so love you, Bitbox. You guys have done this to me. I don't like the moment I buy, even if I ever buy Bitcoin, most of it I try to stack through mining. If I buy it, I'm like, send it immediately. Get it off. Like I don't ever want it to be on the exchange because I'm just afraid that some exchange is going to fail and destroy my Bitcoin.
No,
and
it didn't happen to any of us putting money in Celsius. I'll tell you right
now. Nobody ever lost money on an exchange. And but I used to tip in Bitcoin all the time. Like I would tell like the airport bars, stuff like that. I sit there and I talk to like the waiter, waitress. I say, I can either I can just put the tip on the card, or do you want Bitcoin? And they'd be like, tell me about this Bitcoin, and it gives you the chance to talk about it for 10 minutes. So I should get back into that. But also the Cash App thing, when you mentioned it, my wife's cousin's daughter, who I've known since she was like 2, and now she's I don't know, like 19 now or something like that. But it was a couple of years ago, whenever she was maybe 16. And we were talking at like a Easter, and it's telling her about Bitcoin, and she's like, "Well, like, how do you buy it?" And I said, what apps do you use? And she's like, I have Cash App. So I sent her like $5. I was like, here, give me the code. I'll send you $5 in Bitcoin. And then this past spring at Easter, she goes, oh yeah. She's like, I've had a little bit of Bitcoin. She's like, I got some. I can't remember where I got it. And I was like, you don't remember where you got it? Like, it was me. She was like, really? Like, you sent it to me? Like, it was like that $5 that turned into like $15. And she's like 19 now. So she's like, oh my God, she's working. She's like, I should put all my money in Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, like within reason, So yeah, but thank you guys. And I mean, I don't want to hold anyone longer. Like if anyone wants to join, if you guys want to stay, you're more than welcome to.
I'll tell you, my brother Shane over there can probably talk for hours if you can get him on over here. Yeah,
Anyway.
Shane, tell him to come here. I want to talk to him for a second.
Emery, but I still want to talk about this idea of what happens to the stock market relative to the U.S. dollar, relative to Bitcoin when this whole thing goes down. Because you brought up a really good point that I never really thought through. And so I misspoke earlier when I said that the S&P 500 is going to lose 70% of its value. This is a unique situation because, well, I think I'm wrong when I said that because it's going to lose way more than 70% of its value relative to Bitcoin. The question is, when the U.S. dollar goes to zero, I guess maybe the stock market won't lose 70% of its value relative to the U.S. dollar because the U.S. dollar is going to be worthless.
How do you lose value in something that has no value, right?
Well, right.
Think about it.
So what's going to happen is everything is going to point to Bitcoin. Right now, everything points to the U.S. dollar. Everything will point to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will outperform the stock market way more than a margin of 70%. That's where I misspoke.
Yeah,
So,
I'd like to continue, but I've been drinking for like the last 4 hours. I need like a minute and a half break, I think, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Take a minute and a half break. No, and that's a good point you make.
What are you going to do during a minute and a half break?
And so, for those that didn't hear that, the microphone will pick it up. But so thank you, Stacy, for joining. Stacy has departed, going back to the rest of the Bitcoin meetup. So Shane has joined the Bitcoin meetup, and Shane is Emery's brother. And Shane was just giving Emery. He said, "What do you mean you've been drinking for 4 hours and you need a minute and a half break?"
Yeah, it's weak.
Yeah. Well,
So what did Emery talk about me behind my back while I was not on the podcast?
Well, let's see. He said that, you were all in on Bitcoin for a while and, but you ignored it because why would you listen to your, stupid brother? And I said, I have two brothers and I have two boys. So I see it all the time. It's like, yeah, like your brother, no matter how, my brother has a master's in physics and I still sit there and look at him and go, you're an idiot. I saw you do some of the stupidest stuff growing up. Like, you know what I mean? Like I saw you fly out of a moving vehicle, like, and so you're an idiot. So it's a brotherly thing. So I thought that was funny. He said, why would I listen to my dumb brother about Bitcoin when it was $8,000? That was only, 7x ago.
Yeah, no, I remember the conversations where we'd be having sitting on the couch watching TV and I'd be like, Emery, like Bitcoin, let's go. This is it. And he would be pushing back every which way. And my brother's very knowledgeable. He's very intelligent, especially in the financial world, much more than myself. But thank you, Stephen. Yeah. But when I came across Bitcoin, like something just clicked for me, and it was just something to where I was trying to convince him of something in an area to where I knew he was much smarter than me, especially around finance, and I'll totally admit that. But when I came across Bitcoin, we'd be talking about it, and he would just have so many different ways of pushing back against me, why it wasn't right, why this wasn't the avenue that he wanted to go. And I didn't necessarily have all the ammo to combat that, but I just knew in my heart, like, this is what we need to be doing. And like, it was awesome. Eventually, the day that he called me, and I could tell, like, okay, it was starting to turn a little bit. His mind was starting to turn, like, from, Bitcoin shit, it's going to go to 8,000 and then I'll maybe buy some for sure, to, okay, like, he's now bringing ideas to me, like, okay, this is the wallet we should look into. This is what we should be doing. And like, that was a really big turning point for me, especially, is like knowing, like, my brother, who was much more knowledgeable around finance, when I was bringing this to him, when we came together on it, it was awesome. Like, okay, now we have something together. Like, he's got it. He's seeing it. He's seeing the same thing I'm seeing. Now, whether he's going to give me credit for bringing that to him or not, which he won't.
No.
He'll say, like, some random technician on his team was the one that discovered Bitcoin and brought it to him. Don't believe that. It was me. And from that point on, it's been awesome. Like, now this is a journey that, as brothers, we've been on together. So every weekend we're talking about different things. And hey, did you listen to this podcast? Did you get information from that podcast? Hey, here's a place that we could potentially move someday that's around Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And now this is an area that we can now, like, discover together. Like, we're constantly, okay, how are we doing this? Are we doing Bitcoin right?
What's the escape plan?
Yeah, do we have the right?
What's your bug out
security?
plan?
Do we have
You
100%?
you just that is the talk. Like, all right, man, we need this satellite phone and this other satellite phone, and we need this this food storage and chickens. How many chickens can we get? And where can we put this coop? And when the EMP and everything goes to shit, are we going north or are we going south? I'm going south to the waters. For some reason, this guy's going north to the frozen tundra.
Look, at the end of the day, it's Bitcoin allows us to think in this area to where, okay, when shit goes south, do we have all of our stuff in line, right?
Yep, all your ducks in a row.
If there's a bad situation, Emery, do I have a way to communicate with you? And like, all these areas that he's showing me that we want to move to me, he says this is an apartment or a condo. I'm like, no, I want a compound.
Yep.
I want an area that we're good to go. Where can we raise chickens? Can we have farm animals? Can we live off the grid, right?
Come to Pennsylvania and you'll see what I'm trying to build. Because I even like the only thing I'm dependent on is energy. But if I can convince my wife to spend $100,000 to drill a natural gas well, we own our own natural gas.
She loved you. She'd do it.
Yeah, she always says she's the rational one.
If she loved you, she would let you spend $100,000 to drill a well.
Yeah, that's true. It might happen sooner rather than later. But yeah, like I'm in your boat.
Yeah, no. Every time,
yeah, but the boat is on the water, not up north. All right.
Every time me and my brother talk about, like, okay, what's the next step? Where are we going to live? Where are we going to go? What's the country that we can move to? And to me, what sucks is that right now, currently, what's going on is that America is not that place I want to be in 10 years from now. Like, me and my brother are talking about, okay, what's the other country we can move to that's Bitcoin friendly, that the economy is solid, that it's safe, that we can live in a compound, raise chickens, get on our mopeds, and go to a case of
cervezas and tacos.
Cantina. Thank you. Right near the beach, and get some fish tacos and pay in Bitcoin. And what sucks, like, I'm not kidding, like, to me, what sucks is that right now, America's not on my radar for that dream.
It should be.
It should be. No, you're right. It should be. But
it's not.
Every day I talk to Emery about, like, okay, what's El Salvador doing? And Emery's spouting back to me about 18 other countries that are doing awesome shit around this area, because we're not the leader in this. It's other countries that you could go to, such as like El Salvador, and live a Bitcoin standard. You could go to a
Honduras, row 10.
yeah, or any of those other places that he's been checking out. And like, trust me, he sends me 5 text messages a day of like some compound he's checking out, and I'm like, well, I don't know where we can hold the chickens or whatever. But that's again within the world that we're in, within the Bitcoin standard, and being in Bitcoin. That is really what is exciting, is because we all look at this as we all have a goal outside of just what's in fiat. And that's incredible because we're all looking at other areas that we can move to and go to. Like, okay, where's Bitcoin accepted? Where's Bitcoin? Where can we be in this environment? And there's El Salvador. And then outside of that, you're discovering other countries and other areas to where that's possible. And that's amazing. Now, again, I wish that was America, but until it's America, I'm looking at other places, just like my brother. Where can we live and be in a Bitcoin standard?
Yeah. I talk about this a lot back in like when Twitter Spaces was first a thing. I joke like summer of 2021. I don't know. It was like Hodl Magoo, like Shinobi. There's a handful of them that like we were every night on Bitcoin Twitter doing Twitter Spaces, and so it was almost like summer camp. Like where it was like, remember that summer of 2021 when we just all like hung out and like talk shit about Bitcoin? But I would always say, I'm like, the thing that's interesting to me is that America is made up of a group of people whose ancestors said, F this, I'm out. So I think the politicians and the powers that be take Americans for granted, because we're also the group of people that'll say, if it ever gets so bad here, F this, I'm out. And, you know, like my wife, who focuses on the day-to-day, all that kind of stuff, and she's not the finance person, she has said to me before, she's like, I feel comfortable knowing that if shit hits the fan, a black SUV is going to roll up and you're going to tell me to get in, and you've already thought through the whole thing. She bought me a bug out bag for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's like, in case you need to live off the land for like 3 weeks, like it has everything you need in it, like survival pack.
Oh, if only you can see my closet, brother.
I can only imagine.
I've seen the closet. Yes.
Like once a month, I do a kind of just test kit to where make sure all of my backup batteries are charged. I have a couple of extra laptops ready to go, a couple of cell phones.
Might be time to go test the generator again.
We have
We haven't done that for a few months.
We have a generator that me and Emery went on together that probably is time to start it up and test it. I've got EMP backup on my truck that's old as fuck. And
EMP backup.
No, hold on.
What year is this
He's
truck?
not explaining this the right way. He's got a truck right now. It's a 2008 with 250,000 miles down there. It hasn't had reverse since 170,000 miles. Every light is on except the check engine light, so it's like a badge of honor. Some guy drilled 4 holes in the gas tank to siphon out all the gas. We found a way to put it. We will not put $1 into this that we don't need to.
Yeah.
It's amazing this truck still runs. And he goes out and buys an EMP kit to make sure it stays running. The most expensive thing on that thing, besides the alternator we had to recently put in, is that EMP kit.
yeah, because when apocalypse happens, guess whose truck will still be living and alive? Well,
Yeah,
it'll be my old
yours.
piece of shit Chevy.
You see Tom Cruise in War of the Worlds
100%.
driving through.
My truck will be the one that's running, and we're gonna get it done.
I know. I thought the same thing. Like with me getting into like the Bitcoin mining off natural gas. My wife is like, you know, well, like I mean, just living in the country now and everything. I was like, we need to get a truck, and she goes, "You want to buy a new one?" I'm like, "Hell no! I want something mechanical. I don't want a computer in that.
Yeah.
I want something that if it breaks, I can sit in the garage and figure out how to put this thing back together." So that's great. I'm so excited to hear, because we have our 2 cars are, one's at 80,000 miles, the other one's at 137. And I tell her, I'm like, those cars, like it's going to be forever. The only thing I would buy is a truck that is, long in the tooth.
No, every time some shit happens with this truck that it's going to hell and we can't keep it alive, I'm just like, Emery, we got to keep it going. I don't want another car payment. And this thing might be the only thing going on the streets when the apocalypse happens. And it sucks that we're even in a mindset that that's even possible. But it really is. Like, it is possible. Like, tomorrow.
Well, I mean, Steve, you're talking about that. Like, you could wake up tomorrow and then Bitcoin's the world reserve currency. Like,
Yeah, I think it's literally going to happen that quickly. It could happen that quickly.
and if that happens, we're living in an apocalypse type world.
Well,
I'm totally on board with Steve on all of
it's
this.
going to be hyperinflation, and fiat's going to zero, and everybody's going to pile into Bitcoin. And so, yeah, it's not going to be good for a lot of people. But the other thing is, so yeah, I'm trying to alert the American public to Bitcoin and get the American public on board. But I'm also thinking that if the United States government adopted the Bitcoin standard, I mean, the obligations of the government are in U.S. dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if the U.S. dollar is worthless and we're on a Bitcoin standard, I think that changes the landscape dramatically. And maybe it won't be as bad. So one of the things I'm trying to do, and it seems other people are working on it as well, is getting Donald Trump on board with Bitcoin. He's talking about Bitcoin. I've heard him say that he's for allowing people to hold Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So
Trump's listening to Vivek. I think he's on the right path.
I'm pretty sure Biden has been on the Bitcoin train longer than Trump has.
Unfortunately, yeah.
the point I'm trying to make here, though, is we got to get off this notion that Trump holds the idea that the U.S. dollar needs to be the reserve currency and needs to be the strongest currency in the world. When we need to switch over to the Bitcoin standard, and we need to be first. The BRICS nations, more and more nations, from what I understand, are signing on to the BRICS, and they are trying to come up with an alternative to the U.S. dollar. Now, we all know that Bitcoin is the answer to their problem too, right? Now,
Yep.
Imagine this. Imagine they figure it out before we do, right? And it's a 3-day weekend or a 4-day weekend, and the market's closing in the United States, and they announce that they're going to move to a Bitcoin standard, right? Well, we'll be decimated, right? Because markets are closed. Nobody can move money for 3 or 4 days. While they're accumulating Bitcoin, that can dramatically change the power, the balance of power on the planet. And so that's why it's a national security issue. We need to be first. And so, in order to make that happen, it would be very convenient if Donald Trump understood that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I made attempts to get to Donald Trump. So I'm like 1 degree away. I'm 1 degree away.
My biggest fear with him is that he benefited so much from the fiat world, from loans and all that kind of stuff, like with the cheap money, the cheap borrowing. That I just, and I'm also to the point, I'm so jaded with politicians, and I'm like, you're just gonna say whatever it takes to get votes. Like last year, I was like, had a press pass at the Bitcoin conference, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there, and I jive with some of the stuff he says. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, I sent them a request. I said I'd like to ask them a couple questions for my podcast, and they were like, no. And I think they might have known why, because I was like, I would have been like, dude, like, are you just doing this for votes? Like, come on, like, do you really understand Bitcoin?
Let me chime in on this a little bit. Like, none of this needs to be about Trump, Biden, anything political. Because I get, especially in the Bitcoin community, why they're hesitant to comment on anything political one way or another. And look, you're looking at somebody I'm a big Trump supporter, but that doesn't have anything to do with what conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
Bitcoiners Bitcoiners are look,
Apolitical.
they're correct. They're going to do what they're going to do based on what they know with regards to what we all know, that Bitcoin is going to change the world. We all know that. Look, I'm a huge Donald Trump supporter. Donald Trump is not going to change the world because he supports Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoiners are going to change the world.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Okay, go ahead,
I
Stephen.
disagree.
No, go ahead.
America needs to be first to Bitcoin, and it's important. And so when you talk about Republicans and Democrats, look, we've heard the word Bitcoin pass the lips of more than one Republican presidential candidate, whereas the Democrats are going to create a central bank digital currency. And so, there is a political angle to this, but look, it's clear to me that if Donald Trump grasped Bitcoin and became president and moved the United States to a Bitcoin standard in advance of the rest of the world, that I can't imagine how it could play out better than that.
I would push back on that and going like, you're talking to one of the biggest Trump supporters that are out there. This message that Trump is sending about Bitcoin is not coming from Trump. It's coming from people that he trusts and that are part of his community. And I think the biggest voice in that is probably Vivek Ramaswamy, who, again, is a billionaire from the tech industry that has been able to recognize what Trump is willing to bring and capable of, and is now a part of Trump's camp, if you will. But all of this messaging around Bitcoin is not coming from Trump. It's coming from him listening to the right people in his camp. And I think the main person in that camp with regards to this message is Vivek Ramaswamy. And I think a lot of people, if you were to just talk to that may hate Trump, if you were to say something with regards to what their feelings are on Vivek Ramaswamy, they may have different feelings, because this is somebody who's, again, a billionaire in the tech industry, very intelligent, and this is the person I think that has Trump's ear with regards to Bitcoin, and I think he understands it, he gets it, and his messaging is straight on. Anytime you hear him talk on any news network, the guy's on point. I would put his debate skills against anybody.
I like Vivek a lot.
And on top of that, specifically with regards to Bitcoin and everything that it brings. So I think that in this case, Trump's listening to the right people, which is great. I don't think it's Trump's message. I think he's listening to the right people within his camp to bring the message. And in my opinion, Vivek is the strongest person bringing that message. And look, I listen to tons of podcasts when it comes to Bitcoin. And most Bitcoin podcasts do whatever they can to avoid politics. And I get it. But at the end of the day, we are, you see, red pilled or blue pilled or whatever. There's a lot of people getting orange pilled, if you will. And when it comes to orange pilling and politics, it's within the Trump camp, Vivek, and the rest of those members. Don't give me any of this that Biden's all of a sudden accepting Bitcoin or crypto or whatever he's accepting. He's only done that way after the fact.
Yeah, he's trying to jump in and steal the thunder. Same thing. I'm curious to get all of your opinions on this. Julian Assange mysteriously all of a sudden getting released from prison. And did you guys see that?
Well, what did he actually plead guilty to? Because it said that he actually he pled, right? There was a plea deal for that. What was it that was the plea that allowed that to happen? I haven't read anything about that.
I haven't either. All I saw was, did that just happen in the last 3 or 36 hours?
Today is the official day that he's truly free. From everything. Today is the day he legit walked free, a free man. And I agree. The timing is really incredible.
It's weird.
You can't say that it doesn't correlate with the timing of say Trump keeps coming out and say he's going to free
Ross Ulbricht.
Albrecht, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all tied together. Are you seeing it's coincidental that he's been in freaking some prison across seas for the last 10 years, and then all of a sudden after now there's some momentum for freeing some of these individuals, Lance Albrecht, some of these other individuals, then all of a sudden out of the blue, literally this came out of the blue. There wasn't anything.
It's just a way to keep him from being a political like
No
talking
idea.
point at that point.
No idea. Like you have to think that there's more to this than just coincidentally he's set free.
And I
But
couldn't
don't
believe
get
how,
me wrong. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm just glad that
for him personally,
he is set free, and I'm hoping that there's several others that are very close behind him, like Lance Albrecht, that should not be where they're at. And it's now what's interesting and what's awesome is that within the Bitcoin community, some of these things are becoming so mainstream that presidential candidates are having to acknowledge them, that they're bringing them up in their campaigns. Like, I'll set them free.
And all that does is just, well, who is that? And then that starts the conversation.
That
of how
starts
that
the
started,
conversation,
right?
100%.
Why
right?
is
it keeps
why
the
is
conversation going?
Why is that guy serving 4 life sentences?
Yeah.
You know, and what I couldn't believe about the Julian Assange stuff was that it wasn't trending anywhere.
You know what? I found that I totally agree with you, because that's amazing that you just said that, because as soon as I found out that it happened, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be trending news everywhere, right?
Yep.
And I kept watching. Nothing. Woke up the next day, listened to all the podcasts that I normally listen to, and almost non-existent.
Radio
Nobody
silence.
brought it up. I was blown away by that, just knowing, like, in our community, how much we pushed to get Julian Assange free.
Yep.
And then when it happened in the Bitcoin community, it was big news. That was how I knew that it was happening. And I was like, holy shit, this is huge. Next day, crickets. Nobody, you're right. Nobody brought it up. I was actually blown away by that, because I was like, I couldn't wait to wake up the next day and listen to all the normal podcasts I listen to, going, I can't wait to listen to their viewpoints on the Julian Assange situation. And not fucking one of all the ones that I listened to brought it up. I was really surprised about that.
I was scrolling through Twitter and I see this video of Julian Assange walking out onto a plane, and I'm like, thinking initially, I'm like, that's an old video of him. But and then my brain, I like literally had to scroll back. I'm like, wait a minute. He looks like he's aged a little bit since he walked that freely.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a little weird. And I go on, like, I hit the search button on Twitter to see, like, what's trending. Nothing about Assange. I had to type in Julian Assange. And then it shows up, like, all this stuff. And I'm like,
I couldn't agree with you more. How
kind of a
disappointed I was that it
huge
wasn't a
deal.
news story.
But does that make it, if you think about it this way, does that make it a bigger deal? Because what if it was a massive deal that was trending everywhere? The idea would be, well, why did they do this? And if I can't figure out why they did it, what are they hiding that they're allowing this to be the news, the headline?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to bury the story. So it's almost backwards when you think about it. It's like, wait a second, so this is you think it would. So we're not hiding anything. So why is this all of a sudden not news?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because usually if something is the focus that shouldn't be, it means, what are you distracting us from?
And right now I don't see a distraction. I also have been playing video games, so I don't know what's going on in the news. But I do know that the Julian Assange was released. Like, of the things I know, there's at least that going on.
Yeah.
But it seems like there should be other news that this is burying, and it doesn't seem to be that way.
Huh. That's where my conspiracy theory hat comes on. Getting into the first debate,
Do you think that was, I don't want to make this guy the next martyr or the next public item that
Trump
we talked about?
had Trump not said stuff about releasing Assange and Albrecht, or was it just Albrecht?
I didn't hear any Assange, so I haven't listened to much. You're the Trump expert.
No, I agree. I don't think he brought up Assange. I think he had different people in his ear saying why he should not pardon Assange.
Part of me wonders, was Biden thinking playing 4D chess, not Biden, but his team thinking, let's let him get out so that this isn't a chess piece that can be played later.
That would make sense.
At the time, with all the other bullshit that Trump was dealing with, I think if he knew the true situation of Assange, he probably would have made that decision. But there was so much else going on that it just didn't come to be. But now, like, it's encouraging to see him coming out on the campaign talking about Lance Albrecht and making those decisions. And I think, again, a lot of that I think is stemming from
Don't want to correct you, Ross Albrecht. It's
whoever.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You've been saying it wrong the whole time. I'm just letting you go.
What is
that's
it?
Ross Albrecht.
Ross. Sorry. What?
Sorry,
That's okay.
Lance
But it's
Albrecht.
funny, I'm sitting there every time you said it. I looked at your brother because I have two boys.
No, he was gonna let me dive into it. It's all good.
Let me get. Are you? Let me guess. I'm trying to guess here. Are you the older brother?
Yeah.
Okay. I could have picked that. Like I have two boys.
Yeah.
So like
Only 2 years between us, but yeah.
the interaction is strikingly similar to.
They're going to hate each other for a long time.
and love
then
each
it'll be
other.
okay.
Yeah.
It'll just all of a sudden be like, all right, we're best friends now.
Well, it's so funny how it works out. Like my boys will be playing with each other, and they'll be like, "He did this, and he did that, and he did that," and me and my wife are like, "Just let the storm blow over."
Let them fight it out. You're not
And
going
then,
to stop it.
They fight
Let
it out, and then next thing you know, we hear them over in the playroom, like playing like, Batman, like they're just doing their
There's
thing.
nothing better in my day than shitting on Trump because if he's in earshot, because just to see his face and see how it goes. So most of the stuff I say when he's around is just to get him fired up.
But come to realize that, and
It doesn't stop him from
basically
getting
the
fired
same
up,
thing as where he doesn't recognize that I'm the one that got him on the Bitcoin.
You didn't.
He will never recognize that, even though it's true.
Because no little brother, and here's the thing: I have an older brother and a younger brother, so I'm both scenarios. So no little brother is ever gonna let the big brother take credit for something that they did
Ever.
And
I don't know. As I've gotten older, I'm definitely willing to give a little bit of that. So I don't like now. Like what's awesome is
well, no, I said that backwards. No little brother is ever gonna take. I said it backwards. Actually, no little brother is ever gonna be like, yeah, my big brother got me into that.
Yeah, my big brother is my hero. I look forward to every interaction with him. He's tremendous. Really fantastic he is.
no little brother said no little brother ever.
It is pretty cool to see the journey that me and my brother have been on. As when we were younger, we couldn't have battled and just, you can't say hated each other, but we weren't fanboys of each other, right?
Yeah.
And as we've grown older, especially after losing our youngest brother a while back, that was probably one of the biggest kind of catalysts in our lives that were like, okay, dude, why do we not love each other? Like we just lost our little brother. Why do we not have a relationship? And it was after that we definitely got closer. Shortly after that, Emery moved to Vegas, and it's been awesome ever since. Now, I look at Emery as one of my best friends versus not just a brother. When back in the day, we battled each other. I went years without even knowing what he was doing, where he was at.
It's mainly because I'm smarter, so now I'm the older brother.
And now I have to battle him every day on why he should choose Bitcoin, and we've finally overcame that. But no, it's great to genuinely we're on this journey together. We're constantly challenging each other. Okay, what are you
tried
doing?
really hard to get him into Celsius, and he refused.
Whoa.
Win.
Win. That's a win for
That's
Big
a big
Brother.
brother.
That's a Big Brother
That's an
win.
L I'll carry for a long time. I don't know if I'll ever.
Yeah.
I'll ever.
I'll
undo
never
that
forget
one.
that. Like,
He actually was in Celsius. This is not a joke. No, he got totally
very
buck-fucked.
serious. Like, I will tell you some shit. I've lost more Bitcoin than he has. I'll tell you that right now.
any chance you're getting it back from Celsius?
Oh no, I got back. So if you want to hear the numbers, if you think about this, the idea, and when we thought of this, right? Well, not we thought this. When we were talking about Bitcoin, one of the things I brought up was, listen, you can buy the Bitcoin today, but it's gonna drop. So it's not what do you do when it drops? It's not freak out because it's dropped. It's what's the plan for when it does?
Yeah.
And I said we need to make sure that we have the ability to go take up loans and just put as much as possible on loans to buy the Bitcoin.
Yep.
So what I did is I took out a loan and I put it in Celsius.
Womp womp.
Hold on. Oh, no. So I took out the loan, put it in Celsius, and put it in USDC. And the idea was, I don't want to be trying to put money on an exchange when Bitcoin drops to try to buy. I
Yep.
want it sitting there ready to buy.
Yep.
And I sure as shit got that money and I had it there ready to buy. And as soon as I was about ready to buy, Celsius locked me out, where I couldn't buy any Bitcoin. So I'm sitting here with one full Bitcoin on Celsius and $20,000 of cash that I can't access while Bitcoin is falling and falling and falling. And luckily, the judge during the bankruptcy said, "You know, we're going to save you guys. We're going to sell all the Bitcoin at 19,000." Oh, great! Thank you. That was so
thank the
helpful.
Lord.
So helpful. And it dropped to 15. Right. On my personal note, like I found other ways to get money and buy more Bitcoin to reestablish that fund. So as the Bitcoin turned the other direction and starts going up in price, I'm still stuck at selling it at 19,000 while it's at 32,000 and 40,000,
Bomb.
and my USDC is at 20. I should have been able to buy the other Bitcoin that I was looking for. Instead, I come out of this like $19,000 total.
Oh.
Yeah, not great, right?
Yeah, that's like I was talking to Jason on the way over. I think I mentioned earlier of getting out over my skis, and I was like, my one company has a line of credit, and I was like, F it, just use the line of credit, buy a shitload of Bitcoin with it.
Smart move.
Smart to the
At
degree.
60, or where'd you get it at?
Let me think. When was it? It was 40, but it was after the crash from 60. It was when it bounced back up to 40 in like 2022. And I was like, well, obviously it recovered, so it's going to go up to $1 bajillion right now. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. I took 95% of the line of credit, bought Bitcoin with it, and then I saw it going down, and it was down to like 30, and I was like, oh my god, and I couldn't sleep, and that's when I was telling Jason on the way over, I was like, that was my moment the listeners know that I transitioned from like, I'm so smart, I know everything about Bitcoin, because I was on a heater for like 3 years and just running I thought I was smart. Turns out I was just lucky. And that was the moment where I was like, I'm an idiot and I need to shut the fuck up and just figure out what it is, what it means. Because like I had stupid amounts of Bitcoin at one point, like at all-time highs. I would sit there and show my wife, I'd be like, hey, look at this on my, on my Coinbase account. Look how rich we are. We'll have to work again the rest of our lives. And then it, crashed. And I was like, so yeah, I had debt that I used to buy Bitcoin, and I couldn't sleep at night because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose another 10%. I can't lose another 10%. And that's what I was like, I need to reevaluate how I'm approaching this.
No, that's freaking hysterical the way you describe that, especially with conversations with your wife. Because I remember, so when just first seriously started getting a Bitcoin around 2020, so the price was like probably 33,000. Started getting into it, pouring money into it, doing stuff. that I don't regret, but like at the time was like, are we really doing this? We're taking out this loan and putting it into Bitcoin and da 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 da. And it went from 32 and fucking screamed up to like 65. And like every day I remember telling Tara, I'm like, fucking, I'm a genius.
Yep.
We got it. We got it. This is it. This is the one decision I've failed in like almost every decision in my life. We finally got it, Tara. Let's go. And then all the way back down to 29,000. And like for the people that were around me that knew I was into Bitcoin, you know, they're like, man, you must be feeling really bad. Like it must be brutal, whatever. And like, I don't know why my conviction was so strong in Bitcoin during that entire time that I never hesitated through any of it. There was nothing that they could tell me like, dude, you're a moron. You like Bitcoin's going to go to zero or whatever. I never had any hesitation. Every time it went down, I got more. I bought more. I bought more. I bought more. I never had any reservation in any of it because I truly understood why I was in this, what it was for. It truly is freedom money.
Yep.
And that's the way I see it. Like everybody says, like, okay, what's your number? Like if it goes to 500,000, will you sell? If it goes to 1 million, will you sell? If it goes to 2 million, will you sell? My answer is no on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Sell
it's
it
like
for
that.
what?
It's like that Matrix meme. It's like you won't have to sell. Like when it comes time, you won't have to.
Yep.
Because it's just Bitcoin will be. That's what this is all about. You know, since 2020, I've always had that conviction, and I'm so grateful, honestly, to have gone through that huge cycle of the up and then the huge crash down.
Yep.
And then now we're going up again. That what a learning curve. Like there's nothing that I'm afraid of anymore. Like tomorrow it could literally crash to 10,000. I'll be like,
You're not.
Take
I'm gonna
out
buy more.
loans. How do we get loans?
Yeah, correct. That's my
it's
mindset.
like you've learned your.
I'm so convicted in what Bitcoin is and what we're doing and what this journey is about and what the future is around Bitcoin that I don't care tomorrow if I wake up and it's 1 million or if it's 10,000. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because I'm only in this for the fact that it's freedom money. I'm trying to separate myself from the norm, from fiat. Like where tomorrow I know at least they can't print a million more Bitcoin tomorrow. They can't. 21 million Bitcoin is 21 million Bitcoin. And I hold a percentage of that. So where in my fiat dollars, I might hold 1% in fiat tomorrow or today, and tomorrow that could be 0.5% of fiat because they can just print more.
Yep.
And that's what gets me so excited about Bitcoin and where we are at and why some of the younger generations, why I understand where they're at when they wake up every day and they're only holding fiat. What the fuck? What are their dreams? What can they look forward to? Tomorrow, my eggs may be 50% more, and I have nothing to do with that. I have no control over that. They're not thinking in a Bitcoin standard and going, okay, I hold Bitcoin. Tomorrow, if the fiat dollar goes up, gets depreciated by 50%, my Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's discovering Bitcoin is literally from a financial standpoint gives me motivation every single day. And I don't care about price.
You know, it's funny though. So you think about on the political side of some things, you keep hearing the you'll own nothing and be happy. Which, hey, think about it this way. We both have younger kids, and I try to teach my daughter, buy the Bitcoin, hold the Bitcoin. That is your house.
Yep.
If the future is you're going to own nothing and be happy, then the thing you own is the Bitcoin.
Yep.
I know it doesn't make any sense why the younger generation who knows I'm never going to be able to afford this house. I don't want to own this. I want to be stuck in one spot. So how do I own something that's like real estate? Gives me that same access, the ability to borrow against everything, but the portability to move around. That's 100% Bitcoin at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. and like the being numb to the losses, like when people are like it goes down 10% and you're just like I didn't even notice, like that just means that you've graduated to like the level of Bitcoiner that you're like I understand
You've
it's
done your 4 years. You got your education in, right?
and it's like it means more than money at this point. This is about something so much more, and that's what I'm like. There's nothing more. Like when I said, like I put on my podcast that was like, Bitcoin is my future. Like mining Bitcoin off of natural gas, turning hydrocarbons out of the ground into Bitcoin. That's the best thing that I think I could do for the future, and like teaching my kids that because I mean, it's not about the Bitcoin. It's not about the valuing of the money. It's the fact that you're no longer being scammed when you're on a Bitcoin standard. You're no longer being scammed. And that to me it is worth everything. And and so like when it's funny when Bitcoin was at like 69,000 what 2 weeks ago or something. And it dropped to like 59 and people were like panicking and I'm like I don't give a crap. Like,
it literally meant nothing to me.
it means buy more.
And I think to most. So I guess the only people that obviously those that are maybe just probably investing into the ETFs and they see that up or down. Okay, what's their mindset? Are they holding? Are they freaking out? Like what's their mindset? Do they understand that? Okay, 59, a dip from 50 to 69 to 59 in Bitcoin means absolutely nothing. When you look at the long range, like number goes up and you compare it against everything else, do they truly understand that? And I think the more people that get into it, the more people that experience the cycles of Bitcoin, knowing that there's going to be ups and downs, although the more money that comes into Bitcoin, I think the less there's going to be the 40% drops to the 40% upside. It's just going to gradually kind of do those ebbs and flows. But for those that, and I don't, again, I've been in Bitcoin since 2020, so I'm definitely not an OG. But at this point, I've already been in.
You've been in for
cycles.
4 years now.
Yeah, I've already been part of 2 cycles. I think for any Bitcoiner, if they've been through 2 cycles, they'll understand that there's nothing that can happen tomorrow that would surprise me. Again, whether tomorrow I wake up and it's 100,000 or tomorrow I wake up and it's 40,000, nothing would surprise me when it comes to Bitcoin. And the more people that get in and the longer that they're in and understand those ebbs and flows, it's just greater for our community and what we're doing and what we're building. And every weekend, I spend my entire Saturday just catching up on. It's literally what I do every Saturday. I work around the yard, catching up on every Bitcoin podcast that I have in my library. And it's incredible because no matter what's going on in the price, if it's up or it's down, there's still a million reasons to be positive about why we're doing this, what we're doing it for. In our current government structure, especially what we're doing to protect ourselves against tomorrow and the next money printer go burr. And it's extremely exciting because you wake up every day knowing that no matter where the price is, that you're in the right spot for potentially what's going to happen tomorrow, protecting yourself against an unlimited government that can print off unlimited fiat currency. And really, the only thing that's going to stop us is an apocalypse. Like literally, everything goes to shit. And if that happens, then everybody's fucked. So it is what it is.
Like I said, if that happens, then I mean, me and my neighbor,
what I will tell you is my 2008 Silverado truck will still be running because I have EFT protection, EMP
So
protection.
close. Good job.
Such a brother thing to say. So close. Good job. Just throw that back.
Like my Bitcoin may be worthless, but my 2008 Chevy that doesn't have reverse will still be running.
It's got a new alternator. So nice.
When we moved out of the city to the country, it was like I talked to my neighbors. My one's ex-military. He's a He's a helicopter pilot. Like, we basically were like, all right, here's the deal. If shit ever hits the fan, here's the perimeter we're setting. And what we find until we're not, like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, they send tanks, then we got to get a way out, but we'll be good while the rest of the world burns. We'll be all right. And I think that's a common Bitcoiner thread.
Yeah. No, like, look, at the point where Bitcoin is irrelevant means that the rest of anything is irrelevant, in my opinion. Fiat's irrelevant. Your personal securities are irrelevant. We're in a third world country fighting for ourselves. It's basically like Odell talks about in the book Mandibles. We're trying to get to Nevada, to the New Republic, and start our own country. So
I'm 100% moving here if Nevada declares independence.
Well, in the book Mandibles, Nevada is the place. I'm surprised. I thought it'd be Texas, but it's actually Nevada. But
let's
go.
I'd be here in a heartbeat.
Sorry, I tried listening to that. I couldn't keep. I couldn't listen to the whole thing. I got the crib notes from him. It was good enough.
Well, I think that's a good place to kind of call it wraps. I mean, God, we've been going for 2 hours. And this is, to me, like, everybody that's listening, I think this isn't about the podcast doing better or growing. Like, this is why I wanted to do the Bitcoin Meetup Tour, because this is, I think, what a lot of Bitcoiners are missing out on. Is this, like, I feel as there would be a consistency across the country as I go from city to city, where we're all on the same goddamn team, and we're all pulling the cart towards the same thing, whether it's 20 of us at a time or 100 of us at a time or 10,000 of us at the conference. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to thank you guys for being here, and thank you guys for inviting me and welcoming me.
Shout out to the Orange Pill app.
Yeah.
Use it while you travel. Shout out to the Minneapolis meetup while I was traveling. That was the first time I've actually gone to another meetup somewhere else.
Oh, I'll have
use the Orange Pill app for
to book them.
I'll show you who they are. You can message them and let them know you're coming.
So what's your next spot?
The next spot, I will be in Raleigh, North Carolina on July 9th.
Nice.
The guy Swan from Bitcoin Audible.
Nice.
He will be there in attendance.
No, so real quick, I have to say a story. So Emery comes to me one day and he's like, "Hey, I got an idea.
It's not that fun.
I'm gonna read these Bitcoin stories and like explain them to people,
And then
like in a way they can understand." And I'm like, "You mean like Guy Swan?" He's like, "Who's Guy Swan?" And then he listened to it and he's like, "Oh fuck, never mind. My idea stupid."
My idea has already been done.
So
I'm like-
my ideas.
If you guys come out to Raleigh on July 9th, I swear to God, like, Guy Swan will be.
Guys on. Like,
He's one of the best. He's one of the best people, period, in this space. Like, not just like human to human, like not just Bitcoiner, but human to human. Because, like, we were supposed to get together a couple years ago, at 3-some years ago at the Bitcoin conference. My mother-in-law had just gotten the terminal diagnosis, and I was like, "Dude, I'm bailing." And he was like, 100%, like, anything I've gone through personally, he's always reached out and been like, "Dude, like, how's everything going?" So dude, I love that guy. And I do think, if you guys ever go to the conference, we'll have to have like a meetup, like the meetup. That's the thing. Probably won't happen this year, but next conference, the meetup of meetups. So I do this tour and get everybody together, and then we have the mega meetup.
Yeah, just do it in Vegas.
Well,
Vegas is the place.
this would be a great place to have the conference. It's really funny. Every city has a very cheap flight to Vegas. I don't know why.
Yeah, no.
Because Vegas wasn't built on winners.
for
So,
sure.
Um,
No,
so-
it's so awesome because, like, as I've become a Bitcoiner and you listen to podcasts and stuff every day, I feel like the people that I listen to every day, they're my friends, even though I haven't met them, like Matt Odell or Marty Bent or any of the other.
and if you met them in real life, I swear to
no,
God,
guaranteed.
they
No,
would
I
be-
know.
they'd
Like,
be friends. Yeah.
I thought they were brothers.
no,
Yeah,
they're
I
just
really
friends.
did. They're brothers.
Yeah, no, they're just. But any of the folks that you listen to, you feel like when you meet them, you're already best friends.
Yep.
Because you feel like you know them already. And that's what's great about our community. So
that's what I love. Like, I mean, I'm an ant compared to those giants in this
no, 100%.
industry.
No,
But
we
like,
all are, but
like whenever I, go to the conferences and like I've had a handful of times, so we'd be like, hey, I listen to your podcast, and I'm like, dude, like you're one of the two. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But like which one are you? Are you the guy that downloads it, or are you the one that listens 2 days later? But
what's your handle on the chat?
Yeah. But like it is the coolest thing because I'm like, and I told the story earlier, but like, Preston Pish is from Pittsburgh. He doesn't live there now. And like, it's just the weirdest thing that like how all these things come together. And like, I know people that know him from when he was like a kid. And I'm like, I love it. The Bitcoin community, I couldn't love it more. And if you're in the Vegas area, every Thursday they meet. So just look it up. It'll either be here where we're at in what's it called here? Sierra
Gold.
Sierra
Yep.
Gold.
Yep.
And what's the other spot?
Also Sierra Gold in Summerlin.
In Summerlin.
Yeah.
First, second, and third Thursday. Last Thursday of the month is here in Henderson.
So, well, thank you guys all for listening. And again, I didn't show you yet, but you got to look at that's the Bitbox. It's just slick and simple and easy. And thank you to the Bitbox company for sending me out here because this has been a blast. And I think this is going to be one of many, many, many meetups. And then we're going to have the meetup of meetups at the conference next year. But thank you guys for joining. Go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off. And I will talk to you guys later.
Peace.